Deep dive time here on SportsBit. We got part 2 today. If you missed part 1 from yesterday, check it out at sportsbookreview.com. We have Rob Veno from Rob Veno Sports, and I love to have Rob on, particularly at this time of the year, because number one, I know he's up to speed on baseball, and number two, when it comes to personnel, man, this guy knows everybody on every team. I give him a ton of credit. Rob, thanks for coming back for the Wednesday edition. Welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, Teddy. Glad to be here.
All right, let's talk bullpens. Yesterday we were talking lineups, and of course, the reason we're focusing now on lineups and bullpens is because when you look at the MLB marketplace circa 2018, starting pitching is king. And there's a million advanced metrics, and you'll see as we cover throughout the course of the season, the baseball campaign, it's going to be one advanced metric after the next when it comes to the starting pitchers. So where do you find the edges when everyone has the same math? Simple. Lineups, bullpens. In my mind, that's where the biggest edges in the marketplace are. Rob, would you agree with me on that? That at this stage of in the world, in the betting markets, the starting pitchers are basically going to be priced correctly. You're going to find your biggest edges when you find lineup and bullpen mismatches.
Yeah, I really started getting into the bullpen aspect of it, Teddy, way back 1999. Just thought that that's where the edge was. That's the way the game was going. And you started to see a lot of leads blown late in games, and you had to go and chart bullpens. I used to chart pitch counts with bullpens and everything else. Still do. It's a great help in the day-to-day grind that is betting Major League Baseball. So we'll take a look at 3 of them here.
Absolutely. And of course, when it comes to bullpens and charting bullpens, this is one advantage the professional has over the amateur bettor. When you're trying to do this stuff in your spare time, it's not easy to do. When this is your full-time job, you better darn well know who was in the bullpen last night, who was in the night before, how the managers are going to play it out, and who's likely to play that particular evening. When it comes to bet on bullpens this year, there's one that stands out. We'll get to them in a minute. But one that was a surprise to me, Mr. Veno, when you mentioned it. You're telling me the Colorado Rockies have a bet on bullpen this year.
Yeah, they made it a priority in the offseason, Teddy, to try and bolster up that bullpen. We know that Colorado has tried for years and years to solve the pitching mystery that is Coors Field. Now they're trying to do it with a deep bullpen. I think as we talk today, Teddy, 2 of these that we're going to go over are good teams, perceived to be very good baseball teams. One that I think will be most helped by their bullpen. One that I think will not be helped so much by their bullpen. But I believe Colorado is going to gain a lot of help. The starting pitching staff will be supported by a bullpen that now features a closer in Wade Davis. Talking about a setup rotation of Brian Shaw, who came over from the Indians. Jake McGee, who I've always liked, the lefty who started with Tampa, has tremendous stuff. He's got to stay away from injury, though. That's been his bugaboo throughout his career. And Mike Dunn, another pretty hard thrower with some ground ball tendencies. You add to that Chris Russin, who's picked up his statistical numbers over the last couple of years, and Adam Ottavino. I think that this is a really deep bullpen that if you're looking for 3 innings a game, 4 innings a game, they're going to be able to get it for that Rockies lineup, which is outstanding. The one key to this bullpen, Teddy, that I think will help in Coors Field is that it's a strikeout bullpen now. There's no finesse here. This is predominantly a strikeout bullpen. We're going to look at Colorado to be a team that doesn't blow those late inning leads anymore.
Sure. And when you look at the futures market in the West, the Dodgers are a team that's gotten some love. Certainly the Giants, a team that made some splashy offseason moves. Arizona coming off a big year. Colorado's a little bit of an afterthought. With a deep bullpen and a good lineup, they may well be a bet-on team early on in 2018. Here's a squad that's getting a ton of love, okay? I haven't heard more hype about the Yankees prior to this season than I have since they were winning World Series titles every year. But the Bronx Bombers have a bullpen worthy of their $200 billion payroll.
Yeah, and I probably should not have even brought this one to your show here, Teddy, because it's painfully obvious that the Yankees right now on paper have the best bullpen in Major League Baseball. It doesn't take any of us experts to tell somebody who's not an expert that, because the non-experts know that already. So just some numbers that make them so dominant, though. This team was number 1 in Ks per 9 innings last year, almost 11 strikeouts every 9 innings. They don't allow home runs. The BABIP was 272 against them. That being batting average from balls in play, that was number one in the major leagues, number one in WAR, wins above replacement, number one in batting average against. I mean, I don't know how you go against these guys. They all throw 100 miles an hour. There's a couple question marks, though, and I want to point these out. Last season, and most of this is Dellin Betances blowing up second half of the year or late second half of the year. Only 36 saves, 23 blown saves. And this bullpen doesn't include a left-handed pitcher. Talking about all right-handers here. So that could be a bit of a deterrent. But how are you going to stop these guys? They all throw, like I say, 96 to 100. You got a team with 4 closers on it, basically. So we'll definitely consider the Yankees. They're going to be overpriced, but certainly that bullpen is well worth it.
But certainly when we talk about the Yankees total-wise, given the strength of that bullpen, even with that lineup, the Yankees don't necessarily look like an over team. This is a team, the next team you want to talk about is a team that I haven't heard a squad with, admittedly, a lot of top prospects and a lot of top prospects that are supposed to be MLB ready in 2018. But the Twins are getting a lot of love. I've seen Minnesota 2, 4, 6. There's only 7 teams ahead of Minnesota in the futures market right now. Twins are getting all kinds of love. Mr. Veno, you say their bullpen is going to cost them games.
Yeah, I think if there's a drawback to this team, Teddy, and again, like you said earlier, when you stated the fact that odds makers don't consider bullpens in the numbers, in the line, I think you could get some advantages going against Minnesota here. Let's just start with what I feel like, and this is personal opinion, the closer situation is going to be a mess. Fernando Rodney was tremendous for Arizona. We don't want to take anything away from him. He's a 41-year-old guy, soon to be 42. But he's coming back to the American League where you pitch against legitimate 9-hitter lineups. And in that division, in that league, just look around that league and look at the lineups. I just don't know that Fernando Rodney is going to be able to handle that. Should he slide out of that closer's role, I think you could legitimately put Addison Reed in there. Addison Reed has had a good past couple of years, and I see no reason why he would slide. But it just affects the depth, a shallow bullpen so much if Rodney fails. Zach Duke would step up and be a setup guy. That's fine. But beyond that, you're talking about a bullpen with a situational lefty in Hildenberger, a guy who's another left-handed specialist in Taylor Rogers. Not a lot there, Teddy. Some injuries that have hurt this team early on. The loss of Brandon Kinsler. He had 28 of their saves last year before he left for Washington. Matt Belisle stepped in and got 9 more once he left. Boy, I don't know how this is going to play out for Minnesota. No arguments with their lineup. Not a lot of arguments with their starting pitching, which they bolstered, Lance Lynn and company. But this bullpen, I think, makes them overvalued. We'll look against Minnesota in a lot of situations.
And Minnesota, with that potent lineup, may end up being an over team to boot. Rob Veno, great information. I appreciate you sharing with us over the course of the last 2 days here on SportsBit. Why don't you let the folks out there know where they can find you and how they can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Most common stop is sportsmemo.com. The homepage there, find all daily releases, selection packages, sportsmemo.com. Also, Rob Veno Sports, where you can get some statistical numbers that I don't think you can get anywhere else. We keep a lot of numbers here, obviously, over the years. So check out Rob Veno Sports. And on Twitter, we're at Rob Veno Sports, at Rob Veno Sports. Get all my thoughts on Twitter. As I'm angry during games, as I'm happy during games, you'll know it all as I sit here watching games.
Enjoy the sweat, my friend. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time right here on SportsBit. Betting Insight today from SBRpicks.com. Like the show? Help us keep the lights on. Please make sure to comment, share, and subscribe to all the Sportsbook Review videos. Thanks so much. Best of luck. Enjoy the game.